Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, here we are for race 14, the first of its kind. It's going to be our first trek around a road course here. Live from the virtual Watkins Glen International, it's the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series presented on V-Speed. Welcome in, everyone. I'm your host, Bradley Cooper, alongside Alex Gagnon. Alex, we talked about how Carrington and Ellison have been going back and forth. But here tonight, it looks like Gabe Ellison might be out of his element, and this could be another match here as we look at the points.
Yeah, you can see how close it is up at the top there. Only 10 points separate Gabe Ellison and Casey Carrington. We have a great battle for the championship on our hands right now between those two. However, tonight, it is going to be a matter of who can turn left and right the best. Watkins Glen, one of those tracks where you just love to be there. In about as far as road courses go, when it comes to stock cars, this is probably the best one there is. And I think we're going to see quite the show tonight and potentially a bit of a shakeup at the top of the points standings.
Yeah, you're seeing that cutoff line just below the cut is Jeff No. He is about, quick math, 18 points out there. And a lot of drivers that are outside of that don't have any wins. Daniel Giroux is actually progressively working his way towards that 13th position. So he's going to have a good night tonight to maintain as we set up here for our race tonight. 40 laps on the race analysis, and our stage end will be at lap 20. Looking for Daniel Giroux out on the racetrack, and I'm not seeing the 92 out there. So a little bit of a warning sign, but we do have drop weeks here in the Sim Racer Hub Challenge Series, so maybe that situation will be for the betterment as we'll only have about 14 cars out here on the racetrack tonight. Take a quick look at Watkins Glen International. Opened May 12, 1956. 7-turn road course and an elevation change of about 120 feet as we go through the S's, as you can see there in the backdrop of your screen. It's looking to be a good show here today. And with that, we get ready to take you trackside. But, you know, a lot of pacing here for the inaugural start, but no cautions. Full course cautions will be off, and I know we had green-white checkers there on that race analysis, but we will not have any attempts unless it's a wreck that clogs up the track about enough.
Yeah, especially at Watkins Glen, that is really tough to do because there is a lot of sweeping runoff areas and areas where there tends to be incidents like you see there through the carousel. A lot of areas where cars can clear off the track. Highly, highly unlikely there's any course closures out there, which highly means very little chance of a yellow tonight.
We have seen it in the past, but let's take you trackside now. Get that grid up on your screen, and starting on the pole here tonight with a 1:12, 5:73. It'll be Michael Mullins in the number 24. He'll be on the pole next to Casey Carrington. It's just about half a minute off there, or half a second off there. It's pretty tight there for the top spot. Row number 2 goes to Curtis White in the 63. Michael Sturgill starting from the 4th position. Top 5 for Thomas Stokes. Sheldon Atkins, who's been on a heater here as of late. He'll start in the 6th position. 7th spot goes to Gabe Ellison. Dylan Rosenberg in the 8th position. Rounding out your top 10, we have Michael Garone and Nick Ham in the 64.
Yeah, back behind them, John Skavnicki rolls off 11th tonight in the 4 machine. Jose Ruiz rolls off 12th. And then row 7, it will be Craig Martin in the 22 and Steve Melnick in the 1.
That'll round out your 14-car field here tonight from Watkins Glen International. As the field comes around, that iRacing pace car will make that right-hand turn down the long pit road, and we probably won't see it again. Rising here for Mullins. I know that he's had a few poles in the past, but Casey Carrington was the car to beat for, half a second there. It's pretty impressive. We'll have to see if the 24 can maintain that. We had talked there briefly to Carrington. He said he was going to come out here and do what he needed to do. Looks like he got a lot of practice in, because he's up in another bracket where some of these drivers haven't been able to run in the low 113s and 112s. He's going to try to separate himself from the rest of this field and try to make it the best points day possible. He capitalized pretty minimal at Bristol when Gabe Ellison wasn't on the track. So for Casey Carrington, this is a race he needs to go well if he wants to shave down that 10 points lead. Pace car is going to pull off here out of turn 7. Let's go green flag racing live from Watkins Glen. Green flag is out and race 14 is underway for the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. So already we're seeing some pretty good racing. A pass for position there into turn 1 goes right back to the 24 Mullins. Now into the bus stop chicane. This is where a lot of overtakes will happen. This is where a lot of mistakes will happen.
Almost side by side there. You see Stokes, I believe, with the 27 of Ellison. Almost sort of door through the bus stop. Not the place you want to be side by side. There's not a whole lot of room there. Stokes holding on to P6 right now. Gabe Ellison lurking just behind him. As they make their way into turn 6, just about ready to complete this first lap here at Watkins Glen. Mullins, the pole sitter, going to lead
off
the
the track
lap.
there.
Yeah, he was.
Mullins comes by to lead the first lap, a 1:14.134, actually a 1:18.583, as ATVO likes to catch up with me. But now we're at pace, we're at speed. This is where you're going to find out who's saving their stuff, who's fast enough to get up here. Mullins pulls away about half a second.
Well, onboard action here with the 24. We'll see just how active he is on the wheel here through the bus stop, especially getting up over those curves.
You have to be really careful where you cut these curves. It can send the car sideways, upset the suspension. It's like for Casey Carrington, he got through as well. Curtis White back in the 4th spot, kind of falling back, about 2.5 second gap back here. He's on an island all by himself. Sheldon Atkins has advanced a position. He'll work his way up to 5th in that Pennzoil 81.
Sharp looking ride there for Sheldon Atkins as he currently runs in that 5th position. He has been running pretty well as of late, trying to keep that trend continuing. Starts here with trying to keep the 11 and the 27 at bay. He's already 5 seconds adrift almost of the leader. So right now the battle is very much just trying to hold on to this final spot inside the top 5.
Gabe Ellison stays where he started this race. Stokes down a spot. Pretty early to tell. I don't think anybody's really going to push for position this early in the race. They're going to let everyone get separated. It's a lot easier to pick off cars one at a time versus trying to get into a group in a mixed battle. You can see things go wrong relatively quickly. And it's a different approach here to road racing. These cars really not intended to be on a road course. They do, however, design them a little bit more symmetrical for the road course as opposed to their oval setup where these cars are kind of wedged towards the left side.
Yeah, and you'll see, that weight distribution on the ovals is so good at getting them around the corners when you're making those left turns constantly. But when you have to go left and right, you have to really change the balance of the car. And it's just not something that these guys are typically used to. I mean, this is the 14th race of the season. First time all year that any of these guys have had to start going left and right. And there's a couple drivers we're seeing here, Mullins, Carrington, Sturgill, who have really been able to grasp it. And then the rest of the field really trying to catch up in a hurry. They are struggling compared to these lead 3.
Last time by 1:12 for all 3 of the top 3, and it's about a full second off from Curtis White back to Thomas Stokes. We've got a couple drivers there in the 113s. Gabe Ellison a little bit quicker than the guys ahead of him. And again, it goes back to where do you go with this run? Here he goes peeking to the right-hand side of Thomas Stokes into the bus stop. He'll lift early. He knows better than to approach that inside wall that always gets guys when you try to overtake here is the carousel. That's probably the best spot these final 3 turns.
Yeah, it really is. This area is prime opportunity from the bus stop down toward the front straightaway. The carousel can really set up a run here into turn 6. You can really make a dive there to the inside. If you get that run, you see Gabe Ellison close right up to the back bumper of Thomas Stokes. They're starting to accordion together a little bit as they both reel in Sheldon Atkins. And we might have someone make a dive here in the turn 1 if they get a good run off the 7.
Coming down that steep hill, it's another aspect of this racetrack. You're coming down that hill at about 170 miles per hour, and then you have to be hard on the brakes for a hard right-hand turn. Then it's climbed back up the hill in these, what you would call S's. It's kind of a blind corner right here, and so if anybody has any problems, I've seen it, it's notoriously happened in real life, where drivers will lose control at the top of that hill, and that's about the worst place for that to happen. That's one of those instances where the track can get clogged. There's no runoff, there's no sand traps, it's wall-to-wall right there through that section.
Yeah, and the worst part is, especially getting up to the top of the S's, it's a little bit blind, so if someone does loop it there in 4, you're not really going to catch it until, you know, you're right in that spot. If you're coming up the hill, you might not see them until there's just a car in front of you that can exit the S's. So that is really how things can evolve if someone loses it there. We've seen it happen a couple times over the years.
Stokes gets a little bit loose. I think a little contact there between him and Gabe Ellison. And Ellison's going to lose a couple spots from that.
Yeah, he lost out to Garone. He slides in front of Rosenberg, but just as it looked like the 27 was getting to the 11, he ends up losing the spot instead.
He's going to get into the back of him there just a little bit. Had to lock up the brakes. He's been braking a lot later than the 11. And so that's a product of just different driving lines as they get back to speed here. Now he has more work to do. This is good for this guy up here, though, running his second right now. Casey Carrington needs Gabe Ellison to have a bad day.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, Carrington running second, although Ellison running 8th. Not a huge difference, but definitely in favor of the 43 and would give him enough points to jump in front of 27, I believe. Especially if you add stage points into the mix. So the 27 can't really afford to be giving away spots like he just did there to Garone. He worked his way back past the 66. But Casey Carrington, he's doing a good job hanging with Mullins right now as we jump back to watch the 27 right in the thick of things.
You've got Dylan Rosenberg there in the backdrop as well. Down 1 position so far. Don't count him out. He's still in the top 10 position for these stage points. And I think we see a different paint scheme on that 91 week to week. This week, it's that, I believe, Jeremy Mayfield throwback that we saw in the early 2000s.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a throwback there. There's been a couple of throwback cars out there today I've been a big fan of. His, Sheldon Atkins throwing it back to what looks like a modified version of the old Steve Park one. Is Thomas Stokes really loose, trying to get back across the hurdles there, or the curbing there. He's going to lose out a spot to Ellison. He's going to lose a spot to Garone. The 11 nearly looped it here going into turn 2.
Just got up over those rumble strips, and then there, the sideways right beside Gabe Ellison. And then you see he proceeds to lose another position here up through the S's. It's not a good place for that to happen. Carry on here with Stokes. Gets back in front of the 66 of Garone. Mullins' lead is trimmed down about a 10th here. You gotta wonder, is the 24 using up his stuff, or is he just pacing himself?
Yeah, that's the question for both the top 2 cars right now. How careful are they being versus how much are they forcing the issue? Only 8 laps in, you're not going to notice a huge difference, but you know, give it another 8-9 laps and you might really starting to see one of them pull away from one another, depending on how this goes. Michael Sturgill also staying in the mix here, is about 1.3 off the leader, but the only other car in the same zip code right now as Mullins and Carrington. 4th place, Curtis White, all the way 8 seconds back. And you can just see the gap. I mean, they hadn't even, Curtis White was just hitting the backstretch now, and all of those guys are already through the bus stop.
Here it is through the carousel. We'll keep the camera right here, and you can get a sense of what 8 seconds looks like here. an eternity here. But on an island, Curtis White can just run his own line. I don't think he's in trouble for anything. He doesn't have to use up his stuff playing defense. He also doesn't have to race cars around him trying to advance his position. He can just focus on hitting his marks. And that's always a comforting thing when you come to places like this, because there's so many opportunities to make a mistake on your own.
Yeah, there really is. But, you know, while he is having a pretty easy drive at the moment, someone who's not having that is Thomas Stokes, who has a mirror full of Dylan Rosenberg right now through 7 Rosenbergs around.
And all that ground loss for the 91. He goes from the 8th position back to 12th. Got into the back of the 11. Was looking to the inside here through turn 7, and the 11 just chops the nose off.
And what's crazy is that it's the 91 who gets loose there, and the 11 is firmly planted to the ground. Usually in situations like that where you have a car getting to the right, or I guess, yeah, the right rear.
He got contact before that.
Yeah, he did. That duel lasted turn 6 and turn 7, and normally when you make contact with the right rear of a car, it tends to lose a bit of traction to the ground, but that 11 was planted, and was not an easy drive there for the 91, who's going to have to do a lot of work to try and catch back up to that group.
Michael Sturgill slowly reeling in both of these cars. Last time by, he was about 0.2 faster than the 43 and the 24. This time by, 0.3 faster. So Sturgill on the move. He's creeping up to the back bumper of that Chex Mix 43. Not a good entry into 1, though, and he's going to give it back.
So right now, Michael Sturgill, who had just closed in a second ago, a little onboard action with the 3. You can see what it's like trying to track down the leaders here at the Glen. The 3's had a lot of pace today, but he needs to find about 1.5 seconds more if he's going to go out there and pick up win number 3 on the season.
Man, these guys are brave to send it into that corner like that. I know for me, I like to take that a little bit wider on that entry, but I know it kind of messes up the exit of that corner. That chicane, if you hit it just right, you can make up a lot of time and carry that speed into the carousel. Try to make it as straight as you can, and that's why those drivers are cutting it as close as they are. As for me, I'm just not brave enough to try it. I usually come out the other side upside down.
Yeah, I am very much not the road course racer. I always get the car out of sorts because I will constantly overdrive the entry and then underdrive the exit, and it's always a mess. And a former teammate of mine said, maybe you should just sit this one out when we went to the Glen. And I said, maybe you're right.
We've all been there. There's tracks that
We've
we all
all
favor.
been there. Some tracks just fit you really well, and then some of them you just go, I'll watch the people who actually know what they're doing go at it, like Mullins and Carrington here. These two guys have not missed a beat since the drop of the green flag. And to his credit, Casey Carrington was about 0.5 seconds off of Mullins at the end of the first lap. And now 10 laps after that, he is the exact same distance from the 24. He's doing a great job kind of minding his time here as he drove that in really deep to the bus stop. He almost got right to the back bumper of Mullins through there.
He gave it back. He cut it a little too short. And so on the outside, exiting that bus stop chicane, gives that 1/10 of a second back to, and there's the 3 of Sturgill, who's keeping him honest, keeping the pressure on from that Lexus Sim Racer Hub challenge to his car. And Curtis White's still on an island, but he does have Sheldon Atkins slowly creeping into the picture here, about 1 second separating these two.
Yeah, you see the 81 tracking down Curtis White. White was about 2 seconds clear of Atkins about a few laps ago. The 81's cut about that gap in half over the past few laps. And, the stage about 8-9 laps away at this point. At the rate he's going, Atkins can absolutely catch the 63. And, to his credit, Ellison might get into that mix as well. We might have a little 3-car battle for 4th as they run to mirror our 3-car battle for the lead.
Looking for the closest battle on the racetrack, you saw Jose Ruiz have problems at the very start of this race. Actually has some right side damage on that Semtech number 6, but trying to claw his way back. He has got back to where he started and then some, up to the 10th position. So even with that mistake in turn 6, still on the move, Jose Ruiz. Challenging Jonathan Skavnicki in the 9th spot.
on board here with the 4 of Skavnicki. Just off the back bumper, you see Jose Ruiz, who has rallied back from that first lap incident in turn 6. Put himself back in the top 10 and is tracking down Skavnicki for 9th. You see just behind them, Dylan Rosenberg is up 1 position from where he fell back after his incident with Stokes. But the 91 may get the last lap there because Thomas Stokes off the racetrack. He's currently scored 3 laps down.
The problems with Stokes there, and so maybe we can go back and find what happened to this 11 car. Almost there. Back it up one more time. It's gonna be right out of the, I believe, out of the carousel where this problem happens. The 11 was running in about the 7th, 6th position, somewhere in there. I'd say right here, he's gonna go over the rumble strips and get sideways. Just sideways on his own, into the wall.
Oh, heavy contact. Oh, and then got a piece of the tire barrier head on. Yeah, that'll destroy the front.
7 laps to go in the stage. The top 3 have tightened up tremendously. Casey Carrington, Michael Mullins within 2/10. Michael Sturgill there to pounce in case he makes a mistake. Here we go into turn 7. Look to the inside for 2nd.
Sturgill moving down the front stretch here, has an eye for 2nd place if he can get to the back bumper of Carrington. He's about equidistant to the 43 as Carrington is the Mullins.
That was a good drive into one there.
Yeah, it was a great drive. You see he closed that gap up 2/10. Only a car length separating the two as they make their way down to the backstretch.
If you're the 24, you would love to see Sturgill and Carrington start racing side by side. It could give you a chance to pull that lead back out to that half second you had before. But right now, it looks like for Carrington, he's just biding his time. He's waiting for the 24 to make a mistake. He just needs to get a little bit closer to maybe force him to do that.
Yeah, and right now you see Carrington not in a position to really threaten Mullins with any sort of mistake. Sturgill, though, has gotten to the back bumper of Carrington. He is poking the nose out. He might try and drive it in real deep. The 6 almost got to the back bumper that time. The 3 starting to get a little bit of momentum here on Carrington, trying to pry away 2nd place.
Oh, you're coming down to the last 5 laps or so of this run. You're running out of chances to get that position. Sheldon Atkins has worked his way around Curtis White. There's the 27 of Gabe Ellison up to 5th now.
Right onto the back bumper here of Sheldon Atkins. This is Gabe Ellison trying to get around. They both got around Curtis White. And Ellison slowly narrowing the gap to Carrington. You see the gap here, only 3 positions, could be 2 if he finds his way around the 81. Sheldon Atkins barely holding on the 4th right now over the 27.
Atkins very loose out of turn 1, allowed the 27 up to the bumper. Here we go through the bus stop. Decent enough exit there, but into the carousel. Not gonna shut the door here. To say that's not going to be enough there on the exit, but he was able to close that gate. They keep the 27 at bay, at least for another lap, but it looks like for the 27 to Gabe Ellison, he gets faster as the run progresses.
He really seems starting to come alive right now. Also starting to come alive is the 43 of Carrington. Sturgill falling back just a little bit, but the 43 gets right to the back bumper of Mullins in turn 1. Now he's close enough to start applying a little bit of that pressure we were talking about earlier. 5 laps to go in the stage, and Casey Carrington is going to make this a battle for the stage win.
Remember, we don't have a caution here at this stage, so... Oh, he's loose out of the S's. They're going to drag race to the bus stop. 43 is going to look inside, onto the brakes. This is as close as it's gotten here for the lead. Carrington wisely backs out of it, but into the carousel. He could get a drive off here for turn 6. Not going to do it. Takes it really wide. Sigh of relief there for Mullins.
Yeah, about to say, Carrington got within a tenth of a second there. The gap balloons back out to half a second. But I think, if anything, that might have been a bit of an eye-opening moment there for the 24, knowing that the 43 can get that run. And all it took was Mullins getting loose once out of the S's to create that situation for Carrington. But to Mullins' credit, it only took one mistake from Carrington to reopen that gap out to where it was. So right now, it's a matter of how perfect can you be on your way to the stage here. No break for it, but at least the stage points and the stage win that comes with it on the line in just a couple of laps. I mean, we've got ourselves quite the duel here.
As we try to look through the trees here at Watkins Glen, there's plenty of them around. There's a shot through the bus stop. See that gap narrowing back up for the third position, as well as Michael Sturgill slowly back into the picture. He was about a second faster than Casey Carrington last time by. Mullins still holds on. 2 laps to go when they cross the stripe for this stage.
Going into turn 7 here, you see the gap coming down just a little bit. It was a good exit through the carousel and through 6 for the 43. Will he get another exit here? It looks like the 24 with a bit of a stronger exit off of 7. Gonna reopen up that gap as they make their way into 1. Gonna make it just wide enough to not really give the 43 any chance to dive in.
So a lot of leagues will have a competition caution. Not the case here tonight. We're going to run this thing all the way through. About 20 minutes into this broadcast, and you've seen that most of the top 3 stay the same, but a big mistake. Sturgill actually on pit road here. So not going for stage points. Sturgill's going to pit early. Interesting call.
Yeah, Sturgill, I think, going to try and run this thing to the finish. Going to try and do the old invert the stage strategy we see sometimes with the NASCAR teams in the stage break. As Elliston doing a bit of landscaping there. And a good battle here. Atkins and White, they got around the lap car of Steve Melnick. And now the duel is on once again for 4th.
So that brings Sturgill back to 11th. Probably not going to get back into the top 10 in time. He's about 7 seconds back from Dylan Rosenberg, who's working in the back of Jonathan Scab-Nicky. So this bails out Rosenberg, who wasn't going to get stage points. Here's a look back at the lead here. Mullins pulls out almost over a full second. Where did this speed come from? I think Carrington maybe used up his stuff trying to get to the bumper, and once he got there, he fades out.
Yeah, and he's starting to really fall back now, and Michael Mullins held off that initial surge from the 43. Starting to open up that gap just a little bit again. Tell you what, he's had speed all day long. There's no doubt about it. Won the pole, has led every lap to this point, and starting to pull away just a little bit from Casey Carrington. It's been a dream opening 20 here for the 24. But it's never been the question in the early run for Michael Mullins this season. It's always been a matter of can he close out the race, because there's been a couple of times where he has been the dominant car and then something's gotten away from him. Latest, Carrington goes way wide in 6. Holy cow, he just lost about 2 seconds.
So now it's going to come down to green flag pit stops. You know Mullins and Carrington are going to stay out here. Carrington cannot afford to come down pit road. He wants to stay 1 position ahead of Ellison, who's worked his way up to 3rd. But white flag in the air now for stage 1 of this event. On lap number 20, Michael Mullins stretches his lead out to over 3 seconds. Most likely, unless something dramatic happens, he's going to come home with that stage win.
Little onboard action here with him as we're trying to get through some lap traffic. I do believe that is the 22 of Craig Martin potentially in front of him. Mullins is going to go on by, putting the 22 1 lap down here. He'll make his way down toward turn 6 on the final lap here of the opening stage.
2 turns to go for Michael Mullins to claim stage 1 here from Watkins Glen. And the short right-hander just before pit road. Look to see these guys probably come pit next time by. But there he is, stage winner, the 24, Michael Mullins for race 14. Gabe Ellison coming across for third.
And I tell you what, Gabe Ellison, a great drive in that opening 20. Puts himself directly behind Casey Carrington in the points. And, you know, they came into today only separated by 10, and they'll end the opening stage here only separated by 1 position on track. As you see Carrington stopping for service here, getting ready to go for the tail end of this run. Getting a little off cycle with the 24.
Yeah, it was close there. I want to go back and look at the 43 here. I want to see where he crosses the line compared. Here comes Gabe Ellison out of turn 7. And the 43 is going to cross the stripe right there. And there goes the 27. Right at that
Almost
moment.
got him.
Yeah.
That could not have been more perfectly timed if you were the 43 to get that extra stage point over the 27. But boy, did Ellison nearly get there and make something happen. It looks like the 24 now coming down pit road, the leader stopping to get some service.
He has such a massive lead here. Unless the 43 of Carrington got down pit road better than he did, I mean, you can make up time here very easily, but it's not like a lot of places where you can aggressively enter pit road. You're really down on speed because of turn 7. So it's really about how much you cut that entry into the corner on the brakes. As you see, Gabe Ellison, the 81 of Atkins, like the 63 of Curtis White, all come down pit road here. 43 is going to go back by him here. Regain some positions for Casey Carrington.
So Carrington will go on by. He gets right to the back bumper of Skavnicki. This is the battle for 6th. But just ahead of him, there's Michael Mullins. With the 24 able to get out just ahead of the 43. The gap there called about a second between the two. So it looks like Mullins lost a little bit of time on that pit cycle, but still maintaining the lead over the 43.
So Michael Sturgill with his short pit, he's able to get out about 4.5 seconds over Mullins. And after we cycle through with Michael Garone, Nick Ham, and Jose Ruiz, Sturgill could take over the lead, maybe get some laps led. He'll go by Ruiz here, take over the 3rd spot. I'd look to see Nick Ham probably pull it down pit road from the 2nd position. Position high here for the 64. He'll stay out another lap.
That he will. So Garone leads over Ham and Sturgill. And, you know, the short pit from Sturgill cost him, I want to say, about 8 stage points. So he really is going to have to try and go for this race win here. Obviously, he's going to have to defend it versus someone like Carrington or Mullins, who's going to be on the attack, as you see Sturgill just go around Ham there for 2nd. But that gap already coming down a little bit. It's only now about 4 seconds. It was 5 about a lap ago.
Yeah.
He's got to really put the hammer down here in a moment. Otherwise, he's going to have some company in about 4 or 5 laps.
There's the 2 cars he needs to be worried about, the 24 and the 43. Gabe Ellison is 15 seconds back on an island all his own. He'll cycle through to about the 4th position after it's all said and done. Garone through 6 and 7. Is this the time for the 66 to peel it down into the pits? Yes, it is. No, it's not. Very slow through that entry, and it looks like the tire is pretty worn out here on the 66.
Yeah, it looks like he is really laboring to get around the track at the moment. He's picked up a couple of laps led for his trouble. And when he comes down pit road, he'll have the shortest stop for the least amount of fuel. But boy, does that car look like it really wants to put some new tires on there. Real loose coming off of turn 1, and he's just, I hesitate to say tiptoeing around the track right now, but you can clearly tell it is not the speed he was running at the start of the race.
He's about a second off from his best lap, but still putting down 113s here. on lap 24. I was going back to look. We didn't talk about it, but, you know, what a phenomenal race for Michael Garone. We talked to him post-race. He did a phenomenal job at Darlington. He was able to get that car to victory lane, or just shy of victory lane there.
Yeah, I want to say first podium of the season last week for the 66. It was a great run for him, trying to mimic that again here today. Will this be the time for the 66 to come down pit road? Not yet, says Michael Garone. He'll stay out another lap.
Finishing runner up there to Casey Carrington, who just dominated the day in the 43 car. That race clean and green all the way through, and that's another aspect there to talk about. When we go to these mile and a halves, you kind of expect it. They've been notorious for that. But when you go to a track as tough as Darlington and you don't have any cautions, kind of speaks volumes about the talent level in this league.
Yeah, they have been incredibly good the past few weeks when it comes to putting on some quality events. You see Jose Ruiz make his stop, overshot the box just a little bit. Might cost him a position or two, but at this point, the field more or less spread out to where it will not be a huge factor. You see Melnick stopping on pit road as well. Carrington just goes around Hammond, the 64, the 43 up the 4th. And now, Sturgill, only one car between him and the lead when this all cycles out, and he's still maintaining about a 3 3/10 second lead over Mullins, so that gap continues to shrink. But the rate of closing is starting to slow down just a little bit for the 24.
Well, we know for Whole Shot Motorsports, Michael Garone, a teammate to Michael Sturgill. Sturgill probably begging the 66 to come down pit road soon so he can get a lap led. See the lead dwindling down. It's about 6-second gap, 3 seconds there to Mullins, and an additional 1.5 to Casey Carrington. This field has spread out tremendously, and since we passed the halfway point, it's an excellent time here to find that remote control or that volume knob. Here are the sights and sounds from Watkins Glen. Let's Get Loud here, presented by 29 Graphics. Let's Get Loud, presented by 29 Graphics. Michael Sturgill, Michael Mullins, Casey Carrington, Gabe Ellison, and Sheldon Atkins, the top 5 here from Watkins Glen International. Another chance here to pay some bills for the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. We're going to take a short commercial break, bring you back flag-to-flag coverage here on V-Speed. Don't go anywhere. Race 14 continues right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Welcome back live to Watkins Glen International, where we've watched a few lead changes. A driver that's dominated the first half of this race with Michael Mullins. That's Michael Sturgill currently in the lead. That lead has dwindled down to 1.3 seconds as we approach 10 laps to go. Quick chance to talk about some of the sponsors here for the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. And the first one we're going to talk about is Rapid Fired Pizza. The first Rapid Fired Pizza opened its doors in 2015 in Dayton, Ohio. The idea was simple: make delicious, fast, and affordable pizza. Now in 25 cities across the country, customers love the fresh taste, the speed, and the ability to create their own perfect pizza. With over 35 different toppings and sauces, you can go to www.rapidfiredpizza.com for a location near you. Of course, Aspiration Homes admin box also on the graphic, and I'm your host, Bradley Cooper, alongside Alex Gagnon. Alex, we're watching this lead dwindle down a little bit here, but Sturgill, he has about 10 laps to go to make this thing happen.
Yeah, as we jump on board the live shot here, you can see the gap between the top three. Mullins and Carrington starting to converge on Michael Sturgill. Less than 2 seconds separate the top three. Less than a second separating Mullins from reclaiming the lead, the pole sitter. At every lap of that opening stage, trying to get back in front. 10 laps to go this time by.
You can hear Sturgill burping the throttle there out of the exit of 7, trying to get this car to hook up, find that happy place with the RPMs. So difficult to continuously put these tires. He's got about 5 or 4 lap older tires than the 24, and that's probably the effect you're seeing right now, is that Sturgill not able to run out away enough from the 24, and inevitably with those fresher tires he'll be able to chase him down.
And you can see coming out through the S's onto the backstretch now as we jump aboard the Mullins machine. Actually lost about a tenth through the S's there. How much more ambitious does the 24 go through the S's? He was able to run about 7/10 faster than Mullins in qualifying, and part of it is through how aggressive he attacks the bus stop. You see he cut that gap down about a quarter second through the bus stop and then the carousel. And this is where I think Mullins will start to stabilize it a little bit, is 6 and 7 going down to the front straightaway as Mullins launched it in there. Boy, that was an ambitious move from the 24, whether it was intentional or not, because that is now going to cost him in the long run.
Gets a little bit loose there out of turn 7. Could have been a lot worse, but he does lose a couple tenths that time by. Sturgill a 1:14.185, Mullins a 1:14.406, and it was Casey Carrington who was the fastest car on the racetrack last time by.
Casey Carrington now only a second and a half second back of Mullins. And I mean, these two cars have been running 1-2 for most of the race. Now at the pit stop, they're running 2-3. The only difference is Sturgill trying to get him on the pit strategy. It's given the 3 the track position, but now the 43, I mean, he is there trying to take away second place. We saw him make one attempt at it in the opening stage. It did not work, but will the result be different this time as Ham clearly hammered the wall somewhere? That car looks pretty beat up on the left front.
He's looking to the inside of the 91 of Rosenberg. He gets loose, finds the wall there out of the exit of turn 6.
Cut to him just as he was trying to get off the wall, but heavy left front damage to the 64. It's currently the last car on the lead lap. However, it's going to be a tall order to stay on the lead lap with that much damage. As you see Carrington really drive it in deep. Got to within a car length of Mullins, but now the gap accordions back out with the 24 having a good exit off of 1. And they continue to sit just a little under a second behind Michael Sturgill. They roared up to his back bumper in the matter of a couple of laps after the pit stop, and then they got within a second, Bradley, and the momentum just seems to have died.
Yeah, I think that's the tires evening out. Maybe Sturgill was saving a little bit there through the initial part of that run. And so even though he has those 3-4 lap older tires, if he was conservative with them for the first 5 or 6 laps, by the time these guys caught up to him, he's able to drive about even with them. This time around, though, they're going to go side by side. Mullins very high and loose off of the exit of the carousel. And into turn 6, they've got the lead down to just over half a second.
Here they go back into turn 7. You see the gap on the left side of your screen coming down below 7/10 of a second. And there is the battle between the 3 of them. All 3 of these guys within a second. They ran 1, 2, 3 in the opening stage. Now they continue to do so. But I'm telling you that the pit strategy from Michael Sturgill looking like it might be the move of the race if he's able to hold on for another 7 laps or so. He is doing a phenomenal job right now on a little bit older tires. That call to undercut the pit stage, or to undercut the stage, really paying dividends right now as Carrington takes a poke just for a second to the inside of Mullins before backing out of that in the bus stop.
It looks for Sturgill that he's a lot better through the S's, so any ground that these guys are making up here through the carousel, through probably 6 and 7, he's gaining it all back. So you see right now, it's just over half a second. When we go up that hill, it just appears the 3 car is a little bit better at setting up that corner. He comes out of turn 1, riding on the rumble strip, so he has a wider entry into turn 2, and I think that's benefiting him overall as he's able to carry more speed up the hill.
And he is going to need all the bit of speed he can carry, because it is no secret that the 24 is a bit faster than him through the bus stop. And those 2 things need to continue to even out if the 3 is going to stay ahead here. Diving back into turn 1 they go. Carrington right on the back bumper of Mullins. And Mullins only about a half second off the Sturgill. You see how close, though, Carrington was running. When we jump on board here with the 24, you see a little bit of difference in the lines as they make their way up the hill.
Yeah, I think it's just working a little bit better through the S's for the 3. However, every lap, he does give up a little bit of time here to the 24 and the 43. And they're going to be right at his bumper here within the next lap or 2. So he's got to make the most out of every lap he can. Through this carousels where he's losing the most time, you see another 10th there. He's going to dwindle down. I think we're about to have a 3-way battle with 5 to go.
Certainly feels like that's going to be the case. Look at this, all now within 6/10 of a second. This is going to be shaping up to be one of those great Watkins Glen finishes. Potentially shades of 2012 when it was Busch, Ambrose, and Keselowski all nose to tail with 3 laps to go. As Sturgill gets loose off of 7, everyone's bottled up. Here they all go in the turn 1.
Side by side into the entry of 1, 5 laps to go. Sturgill's going to try to hold defense, opens up the door for Carrington to the inside. Not able to capitalize on the situation. Casey Carrington falls back in line into the 3rd spot up the hill.
So no changes in the running order, but everything got incredibly compressed going into turn 1. Sturgill had just gotten a little bit loose, and that opened the door for them both. And now the pressure's on for the 3. He cannot miss a mark the rest of this race if he wants to hold on to the win. Mullins got right up in his mirror through the bus stop. You saw how close he got on entry. Had to almost get out of the throttle, I think, a little bit, which forced him to fall back a hair and giving him a little bit of relief. Oh, he almost lost it, and he's going to give the spot to Carrington.
And what a mistake there for the 24. I know he's kicking himself. He had second position locked up, and that one little mistake out of the carousel allows Carrington around. Now it's up to Casey Carrington to try to pass the 3.
And if there's one person who didn't want to see whatever just happened there occur, it was Gabe Ellison, who granted is 22 seconds off the lead, but is running in the 4th position. So Carrington moving up to 2nd will change the points situation also slightly. But right now, Michael Sturgill putting on a clinic, trying to stay ahead. Carrington currently running 2nd, about 7/10 off, and Michael Mullins really struggling to get the pace back here after that situation last time around in the carousel.
And what happens when you make a mistake like that, you start to overdrive the car, as you see right up to the bumper through the carousel. I think we're going to accordion back the 3 just a little bit slower than both these cars. So I think you're going to see the 24 work his way back here. But again, going back to what you were saying, he fell off the pace. I think, oh, a clip of the grass for the 3. This could be the mistake that the 43 needs.
Sturgill will have the inside still in 7, but Carrington is right there on the door.
They touched doors.
They got all of each other through 7, side by side, coming to the line with 3 laps to go. Michael Mullins right in tow as well.
And it looks like the 43 is almost clear.
Oh, what a drive-through by the 3 wide. And somehow Michael Sturgill going to hold on to the lead after all of that.
This is a battle with 3 cars with 3 to go. Less than a half a second separate these 2 up the hill through the S's into the bus stop chicane. This is the part of the racetrack where the 43 has been better than everybody else. Here's another entry into the 2nd part of it.
Oh,
Big
he's
mistake
right
by
there.
Sturgill. Block. He's
He
sideways.
heard them.
And
oh, the 24 is wide as well.
Into the wall.
He's in the wall. Oh, no. Oh, and the 3 all types of loose. The 24, heavy left front damage. We're going to have to go back to that one. Because that may as well have just decided the race here tonight.
It's the block here into the carousel. 43 not predicting that. Gets up on the bumper. You can see through here. He's going to get right up to the back of Sturgill. Sturgill gets a little bit loose through the exit. This is a peak. Oh, he's loose.
Yeah.
Sturgill gets loose there, and that's not the fault of Casey Carrington.
3 gets a little bit loose just as the 43 is taking a peek to the inside, and as the 3 was getting sideways, the 24 of Mullins tried getting up and around to avoid them, but was carrying so much speed coming out of the carousel, he ends up getting into the barrier on the outside of the carousel. Gets some left front damage, and that might be all she wrote there with 2 laps to go as we jump on board. A great battle for 5th. Sheldon Atkins, Curtis White, 2 more drivers who just have not been able to get separated.
Curtis White down 3, Sheldon Atkins up 1. Gabe Ellison, the biggest mover of this race. He is up 3 spots. Actually, it's Jose Ruiz in the 8th position. He's gained 4 from 12. He has Michael Garone. It's about 15-second gap here as we approach the white flag. And look back here to Dylan Rosenberg, who's had problems early in this race. He's back in 10th right now. Looks like a top 10 day as he's the last car on the lead lap. Casey Carrington takes the white flag, has some left or right front damage rather on that 43, but a pretty sizable lead here as we close up the final lap here from Watkins Glen. The battle for 2nd heats back up. Will the 24 of Mullins be able to catch Michael Sturgill?
Through the backstretch they go. The 3 and the 24 going to drive it in deep here one more time. The 24s had great pace all night through this section of the track. He cut the deficit in half. Will he be able to maintain that pace?
He's all over the back bumper of Michael Sturgill through the carousel. 2 final turns left to go. 24 gets loose. Sturgill holds on. Harrington out there in the sunset. He's going to come through these final 2 turns and be victorious here today. And Sturgill hold on. He's sideways again. A dive for the 24. But across the line for the final time today, Casey Carrington in the 43 is going to be victorious 2 weeks in a row at Watkins Glen.
And Michael Sturgill will hold off Mullins for second by less than half a second. And now the race for the checkered flag is on throughout the field. Sheldon Atkins, Curtis White one more time gonna go to battle here in 7. Atkins looks like he's gonna maybe be holding on to it. Corona to the outside wall. And Atkins will round out that top 5.
Running very sideways out of that final corner. Here comes Jose Ruiz across the line for the 8th position. Jonathan Skabnicki is about 14 seconds back. Dylan Rosenberg is 3 seconds out. On top of that, then it's Craig Martin and Steve Melnick, 1 and 2 laps down to finish out the day. Melnick just now crossing the stripe. It's Casey Carrington doing his victory lap. He'll come around to the front stretch. It'll be celebration mode for 2 weeks in a row. The 43, not as dominant. Actually, not even really in the win picture. Mullins led most of the day. Sturgill took over the other half. It wasn't until the very end that Casey Carrington was able to get it up front and win this race.
Yeah, I'm sure that race ending will leave a lot of people talking after tonight. We had a great duel. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting tonight, but we got treated to one heck of a show tonight, Bradley, in the race for the win here. Looks like it's a little dueling burnout action. I see the 43 burning it down, but Sturgill burning it down pit road.
Gonna go the whole length of the pit lane, and we're just doing it in opposite fashion here.
Yeah, this will be a race that I'm sure will leave a lot of people talking tonight. What a battle between Carrington, Sturgill, and Mullins. Boy, that was fun.
Those race interviews with your top 3 and those final results, and that concludes our race so far. The SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series, live from Watkins Glen. Since 2009, SimRacerHub.com has been the premier destination for iRacing League scoring. Our mission is to provide you with the most comprehensive and user-friendly tools to manage your league schedules, results, points, and stats. Plus, our highly active Discord community is always ready to assist you with any questions or issues. Ready to take the plunge? Create a league today and join our community of passionate sim racers. You can find out more at simracerhub.com. We'll take you trackside in just a moment. We'll round up those final results. You're watching the simracerhub.com Challenge Series live on V-Speed. More coverage continues right after this.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Here live from Watkins Glen International, the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series has concluded its 40 laps here today, and the stage won by the 24 of Michael Mullins. But it wasn't the race win that he had hoped for. He's going to round out your top three here today. It was Casey Carrington who got the best of these drivers duking it out, and it was the three of Michael Sturgill who had a real shot there with 3 to go, but it ultimately got loose, had older tires, and got kind of helped around there at the carousel, but has already kind of losing control there in those final laps. Final results up on your screen. There's the top three that we'll be talking to. 3 lead changes here today, and it's amongst those top 3 drivers. Gabe Ellison will be in 4th position, with Sheldon Atkins getting a top 5 in the 81. It's Curtis White who's going to finish in 6th, with Michael Garone 7th. Jose Ruiz will be 8th. Jonathan Skabnicki in the 9th position, and Dylan Rosenberg will round out your top 10.
Back in 11th tonight, this is where the cars who did not finish on the lead lap are. Craig Martin finishing 11th tonight, Steve Melnick 12th, Nick Ham 13th, and Thomas Stokes, an early DNF tonight, finishing in the 14th position.
All right, with that, we get to move down track side and pull up your top 3 drivers. First one that we're going to talk to is your 3rd place finisher, Michael Mullins in the 24, and I believe Alex Gagnon has caught up with him.
Hey there, Michael, you got a copy?
Yes, sir, I do.
Well, you took the pole, you won the stage, you led every lap in that opening group, and then you were right there in the mix in that battle for the end, when looks like the wheels fell off the bus for just about everybody. Talk to us a little bit about your race tonight and how, looks like from my vantage point at least, how good the opening stage was, and then the run to the battle at the end there. What were you seeing?
Well, first of all, that timestamp you guys are using in the replay is pretty cruel. I can't lie. That's a hard one, but I'll take it in grace. No, first 20 laps went fantastic. Casey and I did a really good job just pacing each other. I don't think either of us were really trying to push the either one. We were just trying to make it to lap 20. Not that I'm necessarily working with them. It's just that's just what we were doing, just trying to not burn the tires off. So yeah, no, first half of the race went great. He made a mistake into 6th, I think, which gave me enough time to let him undercut by a lap and still be out ahead after taking tires. So at that point, yeah, the race turned out great. I didn't realize how early Sturgill pit. I don't remember. Actually, I didn't get to see what lap he did pit, if it was 15 or 16 or whatever, but obviously the undercut worked really well. And once I got to him, I just couldn't get around him. I made a lot of mistakes. There was a time when I spun the tires off of the carousel really bad, and that gave a spot to Casey. That 3-wide situation out of 1, I think I could have had the lead into the S's if I didn't spin the tires there. So not a clean race until lap 38, but still, I mean, I'm really proud of the effort. The contact in the carousel, I just tried to go left to get around them, and I got up on the runoff, and it just went straight. It's flat, dirty, just no grip once you get off of the racing line. So thankfully, the car was intact enough for me to finish. I would have been devastated if that would have broken it, but I'm still happy with the result. I haven't been here in a while, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it was a really, really solid run for you, and you almost were able to get the 3 at the line, even with the contact there after lap 38, with him also having some trouble. Did the damage to the car prevent you from getting back up to the 3 in full, or was the damage pretty minimal and it was just a matter of trying to close that gap down?
Surprisingly minimal. There was a little bit of left front damage, so the car was really, really tight in the right-handers. Like, the carousel was terrible after the contact. The next 2 laps, I just plowed through the carousel both times. I don't think it stopped me from getting to Michael. Michael did a fantastic job on tire management, and I don't think that there were a couple times when I could have gotten around him, but looking at lap 38 forward, I don't think the damage mattered. Michael just was really, really good on corner exit, and he was doing everything he needed to do to stay ahead.
Ultimately, still a good run for you, even if it was not maybe the result you were looking for tonight. The stage win, led the most laps, got the pole. Lot to build off of, I have no doubt. Michael, anyone you would like to thank or shout out here this evening?
No, of course. I want to thank all of the supporters and sponsors of the league. It's we're getting towards the end of the league and starting to run down our races. So I appreciate everyone involved who's been continuing support. I appreciate the sponsors that throw a little bit of money in here. Aspiration Home, Rapid Fire Pizza. I appreciate Clinton Sneed and everything they do with Sim Razor Hub. It's been fun to track the server and track the league as it's gone on. And as always, thanks you to Alex and Brad for broadcasting the race. It's really fun to watch post race and see everything from a TV perspective.
Well, I'm sure it might hurt in the interim, but it's definitely worth a rewatch of that battle at the end there. Definitely would recommend just maybe once a little bit of time has passed for you. But Michael, congrats again. Thanks for joining us up here in the booth, and hopefully we get to talk to you again next week.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys. Take care.
And that was third place finisher Michael Mullins, pole sitter who led the most laps today, but going to come up just a little bit short in the end.
As we move on to your second place finisher, Casey Carrington, I believe Alex has got caught up with him as well.
You betcha. Casey, do you got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, I made a mistake.
I was going to ask you actually, who would you like to talk to?
Sturgill's ready to go, so I'll let him get that off his chest, and then I'll have the rebuttal. I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
All right, that's a mistake on my part there. I'm watching.
I was wondering. I was like,
telemetry.
I was like, is there a penalty I don't know about? Am I Christopher Bell over here?
Oh no, I think we're about to see it right here. I don't know. This might be up for grabs. But
we'll get him in here. Yeah. I'll save.
All right, sorry about that. Michael Sturgill, second place finisher. That was a mistake on my part. Yeah, I'm still in a little bit of disbelief, I guess, but I'll hand it off to Alex Gagnon.
Hey there, Michael, you got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Well, the undercut nearly paid off in the biggest way for you. What a move to get out and get that track position you needed. Talk to us before we get to the moment of the race there toward the end. Talk to us a little bit just about the opening and then the undercut to at least put you in a position to win the race tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I was staying in third gear a lot where they were downshifting in second. I had a couple longer runs in practice and knew really needed to take care of the tires. I felt like I was faster than both of them towards the end of that first run. And I mean, I got under Casey actually once, I think, going into 7. He came down like I wasn't there, and I backed out, cut him a break. Anyway, so decided since it was so hard to pass, and I felt like I was faster on old tires, so I'd undercut them, try to get a big jump, and by the time they caught me, our tires might be about the same. So that was the strategy. I think it should have probably paid off, but I don't know.
That was going to be the follow-up question here. Obviously, the big moment there coming out of the bus stop. You and the 43 coming together, going into the carousel. Talk to us, at least from your vantage point, on what you saw and felt from that moment.
Yeah, I mean, partly my fault because I hadn't been blowing the bus stop the whole race, and then I think the last 2 times before the incident, I kind of whiffed it and allowed him to get to me. Got a little loose, and he tried to shove his nose where, in my opinion, didn't belong. No one cuts me any breaks, so that's how it's gonna be from here on out. No one's getting any breaks cut from me. I mean, that's the second time in the past 3 or 4 weeks I've been turned out of the lead and just driven through. So it is what it is. I don't think people are gonna be a big fan of me the rest of the season.
I can't say I blame you, given the way the past couple of weeks have gone for you. But Michael, regardless, still good points day for you. Led some laps, top 2 finish. Anyone you'd like to shout out here tonight?
Yeah, my teammates, all the guys running the sim racer cars, Whole Shot Motorsports. You guys were putting on a great broadcast, and everyone watching. I think that's got it.
Alrighty. Well, Michael, thank you so much for joining us, and excited to see what comes of the next couple weeks here. Hopefully, we get to talk to you again here real soon.
Yeah, hope so.
And that is driver of the 3, Michael Sturgill. Comes up one spot short here tonight after contact with our race winner, who Bradley is catching up with right now.
Yes. All right. So now we're in the right place at the right time. We've got Casey Carrington here in Victory Lane. Casey, we saw the just a replay there of the contact before the carousel, but you kind of lurked back there behind the 24 all race. You lurked behind the 3 and the 24 there at the tail end of this race. Take us through how you played the patience game and found an opportunity at the end of this race.
Yeah, I was really surprised at Mullen's pace in qualifying at the start of the race. I didn't really think I was gonna have too much trouble passing him there at the start, and yeah, he had really fast in the long run. Dirty air is really bad at this track for this car. You get super loose, especially in the S's coming up the hill. Kind of just tried to survive those first 20 or so laps. I was planning on undercutting. Then I thought about the stage and all that, and I'm like, well, I need the points to try to get the lead from Gabe. So had to stay out there. Thankfully, I was able to get enough of a gap on Gabe that when I pulled into pit there at the end of the stage, I was still able to hang on to second. I'm pretty sure. So that worked out for me. I was able to undercut Mullins a little bit, I guess by a lap, which helped because my tires were just gone at the end of the first run. I missed the corner like twice, I think, on my end lap and built up a gap. I probably would have had the lead had I not done that, but um, and then yeah, I came out of the pits half a lap short on fuel, so I pretty much had to be patient for the last 20 laps of the race, and finally there, probably about the same time that Mullins kind of had his incident coming out of the carousel where I was able to get around him. We spun out I think like 2 or 3 different times on that straightaway, but it was about that same time that I was good on fuel, and then the thing with Sturgill, like, there's nothing I can say where he's not going to be mad about it. I mean, I've had the same thing happen to me. My point is, I didn't need to move him out of the way to pass him. Hell, I ran him down from 5 seconds back when I came out of the pits while saving fuel, and he got loose in front of me. Like, I don't know really what I'm supposed to do there. I have the SMT data to prove that I was on the brake the entire time. Like, yeah, I stuck the nose into the bottom to wrap around, but it wasn't to try to force him wide. It was to try to get the run out of the corner and pass him going into the left-handers. So, like I said, I'm not too caught up in it. He's going to be mad. I don't blame him. Like I said, I've been run over for the lead by a faster car, and it doesn't matter how incidental it is. You're always going to be furious about it. So I understand his perspective, but I hope hopefully in the coming days, if he looks at that replay or sees it on the broadcast, he'll see that there was really nothing I could do, especially with Mullins behind me. I can't just stand on the brake in the middle of the corner.
Well, outside of that, you answered my other question. I know that we're coming to the closing of the regular season next week at Texas, but we'll talk about points for a moment. Gabe Ellison was 10 points ahead of you coming into this week. You were able to beat him for the stage points and got that second position, and then we come here with the race win. It looks like that points battle going to be even tighter going into Texas.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on what the points are going to look like. I think it might be a 5 point gap going into Texas, so I don't think that's really going to be enough unless Gabe has trouble. But yeah, I mean, anything. That's the thing. Like, I couldn't afford to. I was so scared to death there. I guess I kind of jumped ahead of the action when Mullins was running down Sturgill there in the last 10 laps or so. My main mentality, I even told him on the radio, I was like, "Don't worry about me. I was just going to hang back and let them go at it. I know they'd had issues, and I was hoping that for me that they would wreck each other and I was able to sweep by, but I just didn't want to be in a position that Mullins was in there in the carousel where you're so close to the incident that when it happens you got nowhere to go. And I know he got into the wall in the runoff, so I was mainly trying to avoid a 4X to avoid the penalty points. And thankfully that little thing with Sturgill wasn't a 4X for us, but I did my best to try to straighten him out after I got into him so that it wouldn't be, and so that it wouldn't screw him over completely. But yeah, we'll see how Texas goes. I like that track, but obviously I'm going to have some obstacles to try to overcome next week.
With that, Casey Carrington victorious 2 weeks in a row after the domination at Darlington and now back in victory lane at Watkins Glen. Anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out everybody that come out tonight. I know obviously it's a busy night, and then nobody likes racing road courses in this car because it's so hard. Um, I had to. Nobody knows that better than me, running an H pattern shifter the whole race. I was probably the only one out here doing it, so that's yeah, I'm pretty tired. But shout out to the week sponsors once again. I don't have them in front of me. I know Rapid Fired Pizza, Aspiration Homes, right? Is that the one of the other ones?
Yeah.
And then you guys for doing the broadcast. Quentin, I know he couldn't be here tonight. Shout out to him for running the week, and I hate it for Sturgill. Like I said, I really didn't want that to happen. I would have been fine finishing second to him. I just, like I said, there's nothing I can say that's going to change how he feels about it. So, shout out to him for a good race, and Mullins too.
Casey Carrington victorious 2 weeks now, and we have one final race left in the regular season. Take care, buddy.
Yeah, you too, guys.
And with that, we have concluded our broadcast, and we're looking forward to next week here. We've been talking about it here in the post-race, but what's in store for us for the Legacy Texas event? It'll be Tuesday, November 12th, week 15, the final race of the regular season. You can tune in here on V-Speed at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as we go back to the 1.5 miles for 110 laps, live for the SimRacerHub.com Challenge Series. It's a tight battle in the points between Gabe Ellison and Casey Carrington, and all the drivers that were up here in the top 12 finaling out for these last 6 races of the season. For everybody here at V-Speed that made this possible, Adam Baker in the background, our other producers, Morgan Cook, Eddie Smith, Christian Hill, and Logan Threlkel, this is Bradley Cooper telling you to have a great rest of your week. Hope Election Day went well for you, and we'll see you next Tuesday, and tune in Wednesday night for Racing Revolution at 8:30 p.m. Until then, stay tracking. We'll see you next time.